What are you clucking about?
Mr. Quinn, I think...
When I want you to think, I'll tell you. And stop pointing. It ain't polite. What's the matter?
The time, Mr. Quinn. It might cause unpleasant comments.
Why didn't you say so in the first place? Pick one out that you like.
Without malice, Mr. Quinn, you haven't one I like. You see, it should be a bow tie, similar to the one I'm wearing.
Well, hand it over.
I beg your pardon.
Hey, Red!
Oh, Mr. Quinn, please, don't shout.
Aren't you dressed yet, honey? Yes, I've got a stocking on and one to go.
Not bad, eh?
No, not bad.
What are you laughing at?
Joe's skin gloves in the latest biscuit shade. Dynamite Joe's McKillicuddy Gwyn. Ace saddle rods of Tammany Hall, all done up in cellophane and white gardenias.
Gardenias are okay for afternoons.
I wonder what Flanagan would say if he could see this.
Now, Red, we've got to do things right.
The only time my father wore light kid gloves was for Cassidy's funeral. This is your doing, Harrington.
If you don't object, Miss Paula...
When my father starts wearing pansies in his buttonhole, it's time to object.
It's not a pansy.
Well, it'll do until one comes along.
Now, Red, this party is important.
It's only a tea, no matter how you look at it, Joe.
Yes, but it's in your honor.
Why in my honor? That's what I want to know. You're making her son congressman. You're the politician. I'm not.
Here's a woman trying to do you a good turn, and immediately you become suspicious. What kind of a girl are you? Always looking for angles.
When somebody offers me something for nothing, I want to know why. You preach that yourself.
That goes for politics.
Well, electing George Willoughby for congressman isn't exactly tiddlywinks. Unless you've got something up your sleeve.
Now, Red, how can you say a thing like that?
With the greatest of ease. Know thy father, that's my motto.
Now, this Willoughby connection gives us a chance to go someplace and be somebody.
I am somebody.
Yes, somebody right off of 10th Avenue, Red. In spite of our money and your education.
With or without money, I love 10th Avenue. I'm crazy about it.
Well, what do you want to do? Go on associating with cheap politicians and ward healers all your life? Have you no fine feelings?
I picked a snub for a father, all right.
Yes, and I picked a fine, hot-tempered little monkey for a daughter. If Mrs. Willoughby saw you like this, she'd never ask us again.
That's okay with me. For 2 cents, I wouldn't go to this darn tea.
You've got to go. It's in your honor.
I don't got to do anything I don't want to.
You mule-eared little, you'll go. You or I'll...
You're what?
I love you just the same. Now, you will go, won't you?
Oh, who could resist that 90 horsepower grin? Come on, Romeo. But do me a favor, will you?
Sure, honey.
If I meet anybody I know, just pretend you're not with me. Oh, thank you. Joe? Look at them, Joe. Aren't they perfect together?
He's a handsome young man, your son, Mrs. Willoughby.
I'm proud of him, too. He has heritage, wealth, looks. He has everything. Everything framed. He ought to make a wonderful congressman.
And a fine husband for Paula.
You think we put it over?
Well, if he handles her with care. She's a stick of dynamite, that girl.
How this family could use a little dynamite.
You'll be getting it, Mrs. Willoughby.
I'm chalking up another point in your favor, Paula. Your subtlety is superb.
Me subtle?
Oh, yes. You're giving a very subtle imitation of a young lady having a good time.
Oh, it's on the level. Nobody's looked at me through a lawn yet, and the only broad air I hope is from the butler.
Never mind, Craig. He happens to come from Oxford.
All your parties are like this. I wish you'd invite me again.
That's personal, I hope.
You can quit fishing, George.
Oh, I'd rather not fish. I want to know. Tell me, have you ever fooled around with the idea of getting married?
Show me a girl who hasn't.
Stop right where you are. You need go no farther.
Yes, I do.
Answer yes or yes.
How would your mother feel if I answered yes?
She'd heap a million blessings on us.
Well, then there's my father to consider.
Just between ourselves, let me tell you something. They've both been planning this for months.
Oh. So the darling old folks have been fixing this thing up, eh? So that's the big reason for this tea, isn't it?
Now, calm yourself, Paula.
What a fool I am. I should have seen through this right away.
Oh, what's the difference? They get a lot of fun out of it.
Nobody's fixing up any marriage for me. Where's Joe?
Well, at our age, the best we can hope for is a happy marriage for the kids.
Hey, you! You two think you're pretty bright, don't you?
What's the matter, Red?
Plenty. I thought there was something phony about this sudden yen of yours for pink tea.
I'm afraid it's partly my fault.
Now, take it easy. Take it easy.
What have I been doing but taking it easy? What a setup for two ambitious people. My father would give his gold teeth to break into high society, as he calls it. You want George to be a congressman. Well, you can't wrap me up as part of the bargain.
Now, Paula.
If you listen, I'll explain. I don't blame you, Mrs. Willoughby, as much as I do my father.
Quiet, Paula, quiet.
Not while I have the floor. The trouble with you, Joe, is you've got a Napoleonic complex. You want to rule everybody.
Now, you're going just a little bit too far, you little...
I know, cantankerous, stubborn monkey. Well, you can't rule me, Joe. If you two are smart, you'll stop this matchmaking. If I like a man, I'll be the first one to tell him about it. I can't speak for George, but as far as I'm concerned, no parent on earth can throw a man at my head and get away with it.
I didn't do it. Are you hurt?
No. No, lucky it only hit me on the head.
That's just like him.
What's the joke?
Nobody but old sober-sided Duncan would think of a contraption like this.
Oh, so you know Mr. Duncan.
I went to college with him.
The idea, sending aeroplanes around and hitting people on the head. Give me that thing. Mr. Duncan, you asked it and you're going to get it.
Ah, but Red, you do like George, don't you?
Oh, I haven't a thing in the world against him.
Oh, well, when will you marry him, honey?
He hasn't asked me yet, that is definitely.
Well, I've got a hunch that he will ask you. Definitely.
You must have been consulting a fortune teller.
Ah, Red, you know he will.
All right, Joe. George does ask me to marry him?
Yes, yes.
I haven't the faintest idea what I'll do about it.
Well, if all the stubborn, ungrateful little...
I know monkeys. Now listen, if the man I love happens to be a Willoughby, okay. It's all right with me, even if he's Harrington.
There's a Mr. Duncan to see Miss Paula about the balloon.
Oh, that murderer. Well, tell him to wait. I'll be right in.
Now, Paula, don't get into any fuss with the Weather Bureau.
That's all right, darling. I'm just going to see a man about a balloon. Mr. Duncan, I believe. So you're the weather expert. Hmm?
You flatter me.
Oh, I expected a younger man. Much younger.
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not a day over 95.
Well, in that case, one hardly expects a man of your age, Mr. Duncan, to be playing with a toy balloon.
This isn't a toy, Miss Quinn. It's an invention of mine for automatic weather observation.
Not only a weather expert, but an inventor. It's a good thing Edison isn't around. He'd be worried sick.
It really isn't as childish as it looks. Eventually, this balloon will enable us to predict the weather weeks ahead of time.
And in his spare time, it finds stray collar buttons, men's socks, and hits unsuspecting bystanders on the head.
It really couldn't have hurt you very badly. It was partially inflated. If it had been completely deflated, you'd have had cause to complain.
Oh, really? Do you know I've got a lump on the side of my head the size of an ostrich egg?
Future generations will hail you as another martyr to the cause of science. Thanks a lot for your time and trouble.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself, wasting the government's money on such idiotic things. Shall see that my father makes a thorough investigation of this matter, Mr. Duncan.
Let him investigate. You'll find I paid for this experiment out of my own pocket. It's the only way it ever could have been done. The budget they give the Weather Bureau wouldn't keep your father and his political crowd and cigar money. This radio meteorograph that you think is a silly toy will replace dangerous observational flights made in bad weather.
Yes, well, I don't want to hear
Last
anything
year,
more.
6 pilots were killed. But being a politician's daughter, you wouldn't know anything about that, because politicians don't know anything anyway. However, it's comforting to know that it won't be long before the world will be run by scientists. And politicians will be as obsolete as the dodo.
Now, wait a minute, you.
And that goes for politicians' daughters as well.
It must be wonderful to have a sense of humor. It's a fine state of affairs when government employees enter our homes and insult our women and children. Why, men like that would start a revolution.
He sure stirred up one in you, Red.
Oh, no man on earth can talk about my father like that and get away with it.
Now, honey, don't you worry about me. I've been called worse names than that. Right in my own home, too.
I'm your daughter. I'm the only one that's got a right to call you names. I'm not going to let any wood-footed rainmaker call my father a dirty crook and get away with it.
Do you still want me to investigate that weather bureau?
This is one investigation I'm going to make personally.
Weather Bureau, Jones speaking. Oh, yes. Here are your state forecasts for tonight and tomorrow.
Ceiling estimated 6,000 feet. Broken clouds. Visibility 10 miles. TXT 11:30 a.m. Ceiling estimated 6,000 feet. Visibility 10 miles. Temperature 6.4. Dew point 4.8. Clouds well broken.
Weather Bureau, Jones speaking. Yes? The cold spell will last for several days.
All right, thanks, Jones. Get me, Hudson? Hello, Hudson. The weather reports we can look for the first freeze of the season throughout the Middle West. Go easy on all ice shipments of perishable goods out of Chicago. Morning.
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 Well?
Well, what?
Well, what happened when you called on the beautiful Miss Quinn?
You think life will ever be the same?
What you see,
She's
madam.
got a rapid pulse. She's feverish. She must be a dream.
Miss Quinn is a ugly, red-headed, red-tempered Irish brat.
I heard different.
It's a lie.
Well, madam, if your husband must have a dry vacation, I'd say the ideal place would be the Sahara Desert.
Oh, so you're wisecracking again, huh?
Boy, some of these questions drive me dizzy.
I know. I was on the desk for 5 years, but this is a government weather bureau. People who call up here are entitled to courteous answers.
Well, don't change the subject, Grandpappy. You haven't finished telling us the story about the little Miss Red Quinn and the big bad balloon.
Yeah, where's the balloon?
I got it. What do you think I went there for?
Where is it?
Come on now, you fellows, get to work. I gotta go up on the roof and check up on
The Weather Bureau.
I'm going to referee.
Oh, no, you're not. You're going to stay right where you are. This is going to be a one-round knockout without any clinches.
I'll get it on the radio.
I'd like to see Mr. Duncan.
He's busy, madam.
Well, I have something here he left at my home. His balloon. Where is Mr. Duncan?
On the roof.
Well, where is the roof?
Right over here. Look out now. Be careful. Don't pay any attention to that. I think it's the door.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That's all right.
Take a look at these clouds. Boy, are they moving.
Weather for today, folks. Fair with rising temperature.
If you fellows would spend more time on weather charts and less on racing charts, we'd turn out better forecasts. Who let you up here?
I let myself up.
No visitors are allowed on the roof. You may have noticed the sign.
Well, I'm not here to visit you, Mr. Duncan. I brought back your balloon, which you may recall you left at my house last night.
Yes, I forgot it. I intended sending for it.
Well, you won't have to. I saved you the trouble.
You're very kind.
That wasn't what you said last night.
Last night you were particularly irritated.
And you were particularly offensive.
Well, since your errand of mercy is finished, Miss Quinn...
Oh, but it isn't, though. I'm not leaving till I get acquainted with this bureau of yours. I want to know what makes it tick and why it cries out for bigger budgets.
I'm a very busy man.
Yes, and I'm a taxpayer.
Why don't you run along home, Miss Quinn?
Well, I want to know what I'm getting for my taxes.
What do you want to know?
Oh, well, What's that funny-looking thing over there that looks like a wash boiler?
A rain gauge.
Oh, how does it work?
A rain gauge was invented by an Austrian professor of meteorology. It's interesting, isn't it?
Fascinating. What does it do?
It measures the exact amount of moisture falling on a horizontal surface at this location.
Oh. What's the funnel for?
The funnel catches the rain and deposits it on a tiny tipping bucket. When the equivalent of 1/100th of an inch of precipitation on a horizontal surface has been deposited, the bucket tips, allowing the water to drop to the bottom of the gauge. Thus, we obtain an automatic record of each 100th of an inch of rainfall. Hope I've made myself clear?
Oh, yes. And that's why they say an inch of rain when the streets are running rivers. Well, what's that cute little thing? What does it do?
That cute little thing is a hygrograph.
Oh.
It's for recording humidity, which is a measure of the moisture.
Don't tell me. I know. Humidity is the amount of moisture in the air. That's one thing I know.
Oh, so that's the one thing you know.
Yeah, well, let's stick to the hygrograph.
All right. The hygrograph is controlled by that small bunch of hairs over there on the right.
Oh.
Would you believe it? Those hairs were taken from a corpse. Shall I go on?
By all means. As time goes on, I intend to know all about this weather business. How do you tell about the weather from these funny-looking maps?
Well, for example, here's today's chart. These lines indicate a tropical current of air heading in off the Atlantic Ocean. Over here, you see a cold, dry current on its way down from Canada. As the cold air pushes its way east, it forces the tropical air out of its way and causes a few showers.
Why, that's wonderful. How do you know which way the air's going to move?
You have to do that, buddy.
I'm not honking to amuse myself, you know.
Did you ever hear of Ordinance 392? It says unnecessary noises are against the law.
This is a necessary noise. I'm waiting for a lady.
No wonder you've been parked here over an hour. That's against Ordinance 97.
You fellas hand out tickets on the slightest provocation.
Honestly, I'm not trying to start anything, but how can that comical little toy help you to make weather forecasts?
Come here, I'll show you. My balloon makes observations automatically. That's what I started to tell you the other night.
Well, I thought you were spoofing.
No, that's on the level. These different gadgets operate a tiny radio inside that broadcasts to this receiving set.
But that's almost human.
Without the human fallibilities. Then the observations are recorded automatically on this tape.
Well, that's marvelous. It really is. It's wonderful.
If it works.
You know, it's quite a thrill talking to a real live genius.
Better save the bouquets until the balloon works.
Oh, it'll work. You're just the type to do something terrific.
Thanks.
You know, it's ridiculous.
What's ridiculous?
Your budget. You really ought to have more money. I'm going to do something about it.
What can you do about it?
Well, I'll talk to Dad. He can fix it. What are you laughing at?
Your father.
Oh, I don't think he's as funny as all that.
Why, your father wouldn't give the shine off his pants to help the Weather Bureau. You see, this is a federal project. There's nothing here for dispenser of patronage. In plain English, the Weather Bureau offers no political plums.
Well, of all the condescending stuff shirts.
Goodbye, my dear Miss Quinn. And when may I expect you again?
Never if I keep my health.
Health is man's greatest gift. I strongly advise you to keep it. Allow.
Say, Kirk, I think the center of that hurricane is headed toward the South Atlantic coast. Unless I'm crazy, it's headed right...
Take a look at the map. You're right. It'll move to the southern tip northward over the Atlantic. It should be between Bermuda and Cape Hatteras in 48 hours. Tom, get the naval radio station and tell them to broadcast warnings. Charlie, wire the affected areas. The rest of you fellows get busy on detailed charts. Come on now, make it snappy.
Mr. Duncan.
Will you get out of here and stop getting in my hair?
Hurricane Center reported 150 miles southeast of Havana moving northward. Expected to reach southern Atlantic coast within 24 hours. Right.
Here's the Weather Bureau hurricane warning, sir.
Get busy with the chart, Briggs.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Go.
Batten down all hatches and loose gear. Inspector Dex and report when everything is secure. Very good, sir.
Right. Hoist the hurricane warnings at once.
Yes, sir.
You're worse than a horse trader, Hank. I can't make a deal like that.
And George Willoughby ain't going to be congressman.
He's got to be elected. I want Willoughby in.
That don't cook no turnips with me. If you want my rural vote, you'll swap 2 judgeships for it. Now, take it or leave it.
I say leave it.
Go ahead, boys. See you after election.
Now, wait a minute, Hank.
What for? We can't do any business with a guy like that.
Now, you keep out of this. Now, Hank, you can't get away with a raw deal like that.
Mr. Quinn, I've got a splendid idea. If you don't like it, throw it out.
Consider yourself thrown out.
The only way you'll make a deal with me is give me 2 judgeships for my rural vote.
Oh, 2 judgeships. If the day ever comes that you can tell me what to do, I'll quit politics. You must be getting childish.
Joe, you've got to do something about Mr. Duncan.
Now, I'm busy, Red. Wait till I'm through.
Wait, why, that's what he's been doing for years, waiting. He saved millions of lives yesterday. I saw him do it. If he hadn't predicted it, there would have been a national calamity. It says so right here in the papers. Oh, Joe, you've simply got to investigate his budget and raise funds for his balloon. It's the invention of the century. What's that for?
For being an angel right out of heaven. Now run along. I'll be with you in a jiffy. Hank, I want to apologize for the way I talked. Now, maybe we can make a deal. Will you give me a few days to think it over?
Well, that's more like it, Joe.
Well, how about having lunch together with me?
Suits me fine.
I'll give you a ring in a couple of days.
Joe must be losing his mind. He makes a deal with a guy like that, and for what?
It's quite obvious, Mr. Dolan, to elect Mr. Willoughby.
Did I ask you?
Oh, Mr. Quinn, about my
Willoughby
idea...
is practically on his way to Washington, if I have any luck. He's a good man. The party needs him.
Like I need creeping paralysis. What did you sell out to Hank for?
Sold out nothing. I'm stalling.
For what?
The weather.
That's the idea I was trying to tell you.
Now, I know that the rural vote can kill Willoughby's election. If I don't make this deal with Hank, I've only got one other out.
What's that?
Rain. You can't get that rural vote out if it's wet. If the weather's bad, Hank's crowd won't cast a big enough vote to elect a dog catcher.
Well, are you quite sure it's going to rain?
Of course he's sure. He's going to bury an old apple core and 4 hairs from a cow's tail, and it's bound to rain. I hope you know what you're doing.
And I always have up to now. Then pick up your lip or you may stumble over it. Oh, Red!
Oh. Why do politicians always smoke such filthy cigars?
I thought you were going to give that gadget back.
Well, I was. But I got so interested in what he did with the weather, I forgot to leave it. Joe, he's marvelous.
Oh, great fellow, Duncan.
Oh, you're darn right. You know, I got the biggest thrill of my life watching him forecast that hurricane.
Well, I never realized until today how important a weather forecast is. Why, it's mightier than the sword or the pen.
Joe, you really must do something about his budget. It's a crime the handicaps he works under. And you might do something about his salary, too.
You bet I will.
Joe, I could kiss you for that. In fact, I will. When are you going to see him?
Well, the sooner the better. Look, why not ask him down to the country over Sunday?
Operator, get me information, please. Oh, information? Will you give me the number of the Weather Bureau, please?
Kirk Duncan speaking. Oh, Oh, hello, Miss Quinn.
Can you imagine anything so silly? I came away with your balloon.
I don't blame you after the way I barked at you. As a matter of fact, I was going to write you a note of apology.
All right. I'll accept your apology on one condition. That you call for your balloon in person and spend the weekend with us in the country. My father would love to have you come. Oh, I'm so sorry. That makes up for the balloon crack up on the side of my head the other day.
Well, there's one thing about me. I can take it. What are those funny-looking things on that tree over there?
Oh, those funny-looking things? Why, that's the fruit of the sandbox tree, known as regma. It's a 15-cell sheeter carp consisting of 3 or more carpels bursting elastically. Shall I go on?
Yes, I'd like to know all about your gardening.
Why, you're not planning to come again, are you?
Yes, indeed, again and again.
Oh, but all kidding aside, aren't the chrysanthemums beautiful?
They're charming.
There's a little secret about them.
There always seems to be about chrysanthemums.
They're Joe's private vice.
Politics and chrysanthemums. What a strange combination.
Yes, well, don't even hint that I told you. He's as bashful as a schoolboy in his first long pants when you mention it.
I got a little private vice of my own.
I know. Collecting postage stamps for first edition. One of my favorite instruments.
I don't get much time to practice. You see, the neighbors complain.
Oh, play it for me, will you, please? That's very good. But, I think it needs 15 more cells of sugar carp.
Not bad. But I think it needs about 3 more couples of regma.
So you can really play that thing.
Oh, I don't know. We're both about the same. A couple of good second-rate harmonica players.
I know what. When we get back in the house, let's have a duet.
I'd like nothing better if you let me play tenor.
You know, you're not as solemn and dignified as you try to appear.
Merely a professional attitude out of respect for the government.
I'll bet you love baseball games, and you've got one old hat you're crazy about and everything when the government isn't looking.
I'll tell you another secret. I play polo. As I would if I had a pony. Why did you ask me here?
I like you.
But why?
One doesn't usually analyze one's likes or dislikes. Either I like a person or I don't. With you, it's a case of I do.
Put this coat on.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think of it.
But you might catch cold.
Yes, but you need it yourself.
But I'd much rather you had it.
Oh, but you'll get cold.
We both will if we don't run for it. Come on.
Canada, I lost my shoe. You're an awfully nice person. But look, your coat's all ruined.
It's been ruined before.
Oh, well, I'll change and be right down. You ask Dad to give you some dry things. Why, you'll catch your death of cold. Do you want to get pneumonia?
I don't mind.
Oh, no, that'll never do. It'll be on my conscience. Oh, now, please get into some dry things.
I'll go the second you're out of sight. If you don't mind, I'll share your fireplace with you.
What? Oh, sure. Oh, you're soaking wet. Come upstairs and I'll get you some dry clothes.
Oh, I'll dry out here in front of the fire.
Well, get that shirt off of you anyway, and I'll get you one of my coats.
Oh, you needn't, Father.
Oh, no trouble at all, my boy. It's a bit big, but it's dry.
Thanks. I'm used to getting wet, you know. It's part of my job. I've been all wet about a lot of things lately, Mr. Quinn.
I don't get you.
I mean, you and your daughter. I owe you both a million apologies.
Oh, forget it. That's ancient history, boy.
Mr. Quinn, if I may suggest...
Yes, some drinks. What will it be, Mr. Duncan? Rye or bourbon?
Bit of sherry's about my limit.
Take my little Irish. Oh, Mr. Harrington is my secretary, Mr. Duncan. He does all my thinking for me, but I never listen to him.
How do you do, Mr. Duncan? You're the gentleman who invented that
Meteorograph?
Yes. Does the meteorograph you invented work?
Well, it will someday when I get it perfected. I'm very anxious to check up on those last readings if I can ever get my hands on that thing again.
Well, it's right out there on the table. If you don't mind,
Mr. Duncan doesn't want to talk shop. Now, he's here for a social visit.
Oh, you're wrong there. I like to talk about my work.
Sit down here, my boy.
Thanks.
How far in advance do you fellows make your weather forecast?
36 to 48 hours.
You can't prepare them for any longer periods than that, eh?
Not accurately.
But you can get a pretty general idea of whether it's going to rain or not, can't you?
Yes, we can get a rough idea about a week ahead. Thank you.
It's going to be worth a lot to me to know the weather conditions a few days before the election.
I can't see how the weather could possibly affect an election, except perhaps to keep a few tenderfeet away from the polls in case of rain.
You've hit the nail right on the head. If it rains, Willoughby is a cinch to be elected.
Willoughby?
Yes, George Willoughby. He and Paula are going to be married. Right after the election, wedding bells. I put my cards on the table, Mr. Duncan. The opposition party is making it pretty tough. Now, if I knew about the weather a few days before the election, I'd know how to handle them monkeys. Now, you can be a big help to me, and nobody ever did Joe Quinn a favor and lost by it.
I had the crazy idea this invitation was fine old hospitality, which just goes to show that Barnum was right. What I was really asked down here for was to make the election safe for the Quinns and the Willoughbys.
Gee, you fly off the handle quicker than Paula does.
You've come to the wrong window, Mr. Quinn. What you really need is not a weather bureau, but a matrimonial bureau.
Well, you're not leaving.
What does it look like?
But you just got here. Hey, wait a minute. Come back here. You got my coat.
Where's Mr. Duncan?
Gone.
Gone where?
Home.
Well, why?
I don't know. He just went.
Mr. Duncan!
Red, come back here.
Kirk! What on earth happened? Why are you leaving like this?
Let's blame it on the weather.
You can't leave like this. Please come back to the house.
I'm not coming back now or any other time.
Something's wrong, Kirk. You've got to tell me.
What's the matter? matter?
This storm, I'm so frightened.
You're not the least bit frightened. You're not afraid of anything on earth. You've made up your mind you're going to have your own way, and you'd stop at nothing to get it, not even to throwing yourself in a man's arms. Well, you've picked the wrong man this time, Miss Quinn. You gave me a kiss tonight. I never accept favors without returning them. That's the old Quinn formula, isn't it? There you are, now we're even.
I never want to see you again as long as I live.
Well, there was no reason for him to get huffy over a little friendly trade.
Well, possibly he thought you were offering him a bribe.
Red, is that you?
Yes, what's left of me.
Did you catch him, honey?
I did. Him and probably pneumonia, too.
Here, that's straight whiskey.
Oh, that suits me.
Put this coat on. You'll catch your death of cold.
Not with my temperature. The chill of the North Pole wouldn't phase it.
Mr. Duncan went away without his balloon.
Oh, yes? Well, you can take that thing outside and throw it in the ash can. And if there's a hammer handy, break it into a million pieces.
But, Miss Paula...
You heard me. Get that thing out of here. What got the mastermind sore?
Eh? Nothing. I just asked him what the weather was going to be like on election day, and he blew up like a
Don't tell
firecracker.
me. I'm not even interested. Are you sure that's all it was?
I give you my word of honor.
Well, then there was no reason for him blowing up the way he did. I follow every half-baked impulse that pops into my head. That's my trouble.
Sure. Stop and count 10 the way I do.
Oh, next time I'm going to count up to 1,000,000. See what I can do with a real live He-Man with blood in his veins instead of rainwater. Miss Quinn calling Mr. Willoughby.
Telephone, Mr. Willoughby. Yes?
Hello, Paula. What a lovely person to hear from on a night like this.
Now listen, dear, very carefully. Would you know a psychological moment if you saw one?
My lamb. I invented the psychological moment. Put on your purple and 5 minutes, and I'll call for you in half an hour.
Ever had acrophobia, darling?
No. But I've had measles and mumps.
Acrophobia is a state of mind. It means being afraid of tall mountains and buildings.
Well, the way I feel right now, the higher the better.
Splendid. Then I can invite you to my cabin, way out from the top of Snowcrest. You ski, don't you?
Ski? Why, I'm one of the best skiers that ever skied.
Then you will come?
Sure, I'd love to.
You angel. We can leave election morning amidst all the cheering. Even if I do get in, we can chisel a week out of Uncle Sam.
You mean just the two of us?
Sure.
Well, doesn't that leave the proprieties a trifle fuzzy around the edges?
Don't be silly. I want you to come as Mrs. Willoughby. Everything strictly according to Hoyle.
Do you mean to tell me you had to go via acrophobia to get to this proposal?
I told you I was the inventor of the psychological moment.
Cute, aren't you?
No. Just a man in love. Then it's settled, huh? Yes, I'll start polishing up the minister right now.
Hey, wait a minute. I'll go. Yes, I'll go. That is, if there's any snow up there. I mean to say one can hardly ski without snow, can one?
Oh, there'll be enough snow for skiing.
Well, supposing it turns warm and rains.
But it won't. You forget the weatherman is a friend of mine. It's a deal?
All right, it's a deal.
Oh, my sweet.
That is, if it doesn't rain.
You sent for me, Mr. Quinn?
No. Yes. No!
That's what I thought.
Did Hank Keith phone again?
5 times. He wants to know if you're going to give him 2 judgeships for his rural support. From what I can gather, he demands a definite answer.
From what you can gather.
He bellowed like an angry wolf, and not in the choicest language.
Harrington, I'm in a bad spot. If it doesn't rain, Hank's got me. That sky looks awful clear.
Mr. Quinn, you remember the balloon I threw in the ash can?
What about it?
Well, it wouldn't fit the ash can, so I kept it.
Don't bother me while I'm thinking.
Well, you want to know if it's going to rain, don't you?
No, I just keep asking to exercise my tonsils.
Your troubles are over, Mr. Quinn, I assure you. I sent the balloon up for weather observation.
You ought to be sent up for mental observation.
Well, when it's returned, that little bag will tell us what's going to happen on Election Day. Think of it, Mr. Quinn. You'll have plenty of time to decide about the deal.
Get out of here before I lose my temper!
The balloon, like the truth, crushed to earth, will arise again. Remember that, Mr. Quinn.
One more word out of you and you're fired.
Hello? Oh, hello, George. What do you expect this hour of the morning? Nip-ups?
Not now, little darling. Maybe after we're married. In the meantime, how about dinner tonight?
All right. If you pick out a spot that's quiet and restful, if I hear a pin drop, I'll scream.
The University Club is perfect. They wouldn't let a pin come in the place.
What's on your mind, dear? I've never seen you so quiet.
Don't mind me, George. I've just got a bad case of the jitters.
Well, drink some of your wine. The bubbles will put zip into you.
No, thanks.
Would you like to go for a ride?
No, thanks. George,
Yes, darling.
do you think we ought to run off to Snowcrest on Election Day?
I never welsh on a bet. You made a deal. I promised I'd marry you on Tuesday, and I'll do it.
Yes, if it doesn't rain.
It won't. You can start packing right now.
Well, before I start packing, I'm going to the Weather Bureau and get an accurate forecast.
Oh, now listen, honey. We've talked the... You won't have to. The Weather Bureau has just popped in. Mr. Duncan.
Hello, George.
You're just the man I want to see.
Sit down, will you, old boy? Oh, you two know one another. Oh, this is the young lady who returned your balloon, you remember?
Oh, yes. How do you do?
How do you do?
We want a private consultation. Do you see the rain looming on the horizon?
Why,
You see, I promised to go skiing with George at his cabin. Now, there'd hardly be any point in going if it was going to rain, would there?
That depends upon how anxious you are to make the trip.
Oh, but I don't... That is, Snowcrest would be simply absurd without snow.
Listen, old man. As an Alpha Delta Phi brother, do me a good turn, will you? Don't let it rain on Tuesday.
I'm a meteorologist, not a witch doctor.
We'll stretch a point for a pal. And tell this young lady...
It all began last Saturday night.
I remember last Saturday night distinctly.
In a moment of anger, I promised George I'd go to Snowcrest. Now, I never would have if I hadn't been furious with someone.
Her father. They fight like a couple of wildcats.
Exactly. If my father hadn't insulted me and humiliated me out there in the rain, I'd never have made such a rash promise.
Don't let her fool you. She's crazy about me, but just hates to give in.
Will you keep out of this? You can understand what drove me to it, can't you, Mr. Duncan?
I'm afraid I can't.
But you must.
Dunk only understands weather charts.
If I didn't care so much for my father, it wouldn't make any difference. But I love him.
Listen, the real issue is this. When she promised she'd go with me, it was just another way of saying, yes, George, I'll marry you next Tuesday morning.
If it doesn't rain.
So come along. Give us the real lowdown on the weather.
All right. There won't be enough moisture in the air to wet a postage stamp. It's going to be cold and clear. There'll be enough snow to ski from here to Switzerland and back.
Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah.
Shut up.
And now, if you'll excuse me, I'll go and order my dinner.
Just a minute, Mr. Duncan. About me and my father. I'm afraid I gave you the wrong idea. I'd be a sap to shed any tears over him, I can see that. He's not a man, he's a machine. If there's anything that flows in his veins, it's not red blood, it's rainwater. I'm glad it's not going to rain Tuesday morning. It's the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. Good night, Mr. Duncan, and thank you a lot.
Yeah, thanks, old man. Good night.
You little rascal. So you didn't want to go to Snowcrest with me, huh? I knew you were ribbing all the time. Oh, but you shouldn't have panned your old dad like that. Deep down, you're just crazy about him, and you know it. You're crying.
No, I'm not. Did you ever get horseradish in your eyes?
Oh.
Well, Mr. Duncan, I haven't seen you for a month of Sunday.
Hello, Mike.
You're looking kind of low, sir.
I feel kind of low.
Something go wrong, sir?
It's the end of the world, Mike, and I'm the last man on earth.
What you need is a pick-me-up.
What do you suggest?
Well, if you was a steady drinker, I'd say a sidecar. But seeing as how you hardly ever touch the stuff...
Make it a sidecar.
Sure, Mr. Duncan.
I wondered if $2 wasn't ample reward. Not a cloud in the sky. Oh! Will you look where you're going?
I'm so sorry, Mr. Quinn. If only that balloon would come back.
Will you stop gibbering about your balloon and give me some peace?
That's just what I wanted you to have, Mr. Quinn. You'd have peace if I could only get that balloon back.
I'd have some peace if you'd get out of here.
Possibly an ad in the paper.
Will you get out?
No gentleman ever raises his voice to a high C, Mr. Quinn.
How was the sidecar, Mr. Duncan?
I was weaned on stronger stuff than that.
You hadn't ought to drink it so fast, sir.
Give me another.
Yes, sir.
Mike, do you know anything about the scientific rational process?
Is it a new drink, sir?
At the first real test, the barriers of reason break down before the tide of emotion.
You don't say.
I do say.
Well, there you are, sir.
Better than the first one.
That's good. Now, when that second one starts working, things will be looking a lot brighter.
Better make me another.
Two of them usually does the work, Mr. Duncan.
I'm not the usual case.
Whatever you say. No answer. Have you tried all the libraries and museums?
Every place he hangs out. Say, we've got to get that report for the radio stations. The deadline's in a half an hour.
He'll show up. That guy hasn't missed a forecast in 5 years.
I don't know. He's been acting kind of funny lately. Like he's got something on his mind.
Well, maybe you better try the hospitals or morgue.
I have. He isn't there.
That's tough. There you are, sir.
Tonight, Mike, my thoughts march reproachfully over the burial ground of my dreams.
It must be great to toss around lingo like that.
Man can turn a phrase once too often, Mike. That's what I did tonight.
How was that, sir?
I gave the only thing I ever really loved right into the hands of the enemy.
Maybe you can get it back, Mr. Duncan.
Yeah. It's too late. She's beautiful, Mike. Beautiful as a flaming sunset against an azure sky. She loved me, Mike. She loved me, and I love her. Fill it up.
Excuse me, Mr. Duncan. Wouldn't it be reckless drinking any more of these?
That's what I should have been, reckless. I should have said to her, I love you. You're going to Snowcrest over my dead body. But I didn't. Said it's going to be clear and cold, mountains of snow, not one drop of rain.
Is it going to rain, sir?
What?
Is it going to rain?
What time is it?
20 minutes of 8, sir.
When will it be 8?
In 20 minutes.
Give me a taxi. A fast one with wings on it.
What time does the weather report come over the radio?
8 o'clock. Anything can happen before Tuesday, Mr. Quinn.
Yes, well, if it doesn't rain, everything will happen.
If we'd only find that balloon, Mr. Quinn.
I suppose we'd have a cloud burst.
Who can tell?
That must be Hank now. Stand over there. At 8 o'clock, turn the radio on loud.
But, Mr. Quinn...
Shut up!
In the library, please.
Hello, Hank. You farmers are always on time.
Especially when we want a showdown.
First, we'll have a drink.
Well, I haven't got much time. My committee's waiting to hear from me. They want to know which way our district votes.
Now, you can't argue with a thirsty man. Here's to a big plurality.
Well, it's 5 minutes to 8. What do we do? You know Kirk's orders. No forecast go out of this office without his okay.
Yeah, but it's got to be on the air in 5 minutes.
Well, I'm going to take a chance and phone the radio stations.
Hey, wait a minute. Hand over that report. Cold and clear, huh? Everybody's always talking about the weather, aren't they? But nobody ever does anything about it. Do they? I'm gonna do something about it.
Let's have another drink.
Listen, I'm in a hurry.
Always rushing someplace, Hank. Take it easy. You ought to watch your blood pressure.
Now, you ain't stalling me another minute. For the last time, is it a deal or ain't it? Now, look here, Joe.
Quiet, please, Mr. Keith. Here comes the weather report.
So that's it. I'm wise to you. You're stalling for the weather, ain't you?
Keep your hands off of that. Hank, you know that I'm not stalling for anything.
No, not much or not. If the report says fair weather, you'll give me the Empire State Building if I want it. And if it's rain, you'll tell me where to go.
Hank.
We'll have the daily weather report for you in just a moment. Please stand by, folks.
Now, I'll tell you something, Joe. Don't make no difference to me what the weather is. There ain't going to be no deal.
Hank, you got me all wrong. Wait a minute. You see what that one-cylinder brain of yours has done for me?
Here it is, the daily weather report.
Oh, now I'm sunk good and proper.
The weather tomorrow, cloudy and warmer. Tuesday, election day, the heaviest rainfall in 10 years is anticipated.
Rain! Rain, 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 wet rain! Tons of it! Tons and tons of it! It's going to rain, sweetheart. Oh, there won't be enough of that farm vote to elect a dog catcher. I couldn't have given him those judgeships anyway. It wouldn't have been ethical.
Western Union. Take a straight wire. Chief of the Weather Bureau, Washington, D.C. Chief of the Weather Bureau, Washington, D.C. I hereby tender my resignation as employee your department. Signed, Kirk Duncan. Charges to my account. Emerald 76803.
Hello? Who is this?
Oh, it's me, Kirk Duncan. Listen, Paula.
I am listening. What are you talking about?
About the weather.
Are you trying to be funny?
Not funny, sure is. I issued a false forecast.
What? What's wrong with you?
Hangover. Did it all for you, Paula.
I wish I could tell you how touched I am. Goodbye.
Don't hang up, Paula. Listen, Paula, I got to talk to you.
Yes?
Predicted rain. Rain tomorrow. It's going to be cold and clear.
You predicted rain when you knew it was going to be fair?
That's it. Wrecked my life to keep you from going Snowcrest. Oh, am I sick? Oh.
Kirk Duncan, you mean you predicted rain to stop me from going to Snowcrest? Hello? Hello? Kirk, why don't you answer me?
That's fine, Congressman.
Oh, no, boys. Wait till tomorrow when the votes are counted.
Mr. Quinn, how about you and the Congressman together?
Oh, I don't figure in this election.
Not even as prospective father-in-law to Congressman Willoughby?
Well, you'll have to ask Mr. Willoughby about that.
What about it, Congressman?
You'll have to ask the young lady about that. And stop calling me congressman.
I understand you're laying 8-5 on Willoughby tomorrow, Mr. Quinn.
Well, this isn't for publication, boys, but if you want to pick up some easy money, take all that you can get at those odds.
Excuse me, Miss Quinn on the phone for Mr. Quinn.
Paula's on the phone. She wants to talk to you, Joe.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. Hello, Red. What's on your mind?
Would you be interested in the weather forecast for tomorrow, Dad?
I've got it. The Weather Bureau predicts rain.
I know they did, darling, but it was a mistake.
How do you know?
The weatherman went on a bat last night. On a bat. He told me so. He predicted rain just to keep me from going to Snowcrest with George. Have you ever heard of anything so devoted?
Now, don't joke about a thing like that. Is something wrong? Get these guys out of here. I want to talk to George alone.
That's all, gentlemen. Mr. Quinn is a little on the busy side.
What's wrong, Joe?
The weather.
Goodbye, Mrs. Willoughby. Goodbye, boys.
Goodbye. What is it, Joe?
Well, it seems this weather guy is stuck on Red. And he went on a bat last night and predicted rain to keep her from going to Snowcrest with George.
Is that all? I thought it was something serious.
Oh, it's plenty serious.
But I
And it isn't going to rain?
Not a drop.
What an ironic twist of fate. Oh, excuse me.
Does it make any difference?
Well, it's ruined George's election.
That isn't all it's ruined. Paula promised to marry me if we went to Snowcrest.
If I were a younger man, I'd push his face right through the back of his head. I may do it anyway.
I'll take care of Mr. Duncan personally. Get out of that bed.
Oh, that's you, Willoughby?
So you put one over on me, you two-faced...
That's just the way I feel. 2 faces, 2 heads.
Get out of there and put them out.
Oh, go away. Oh, gee, that feels swell.
Are you going to get out and fight? Come on. You can't understand.
I'm a very sick man.
Yes, you'll be.
Oh, please. Go home, Willoughby, and let me sleep. Oh, my head's killing me.
Okay, Dad.
Red, look! Quick, look!
Look at what? What's wrong?
Nothing's wrong. It's as right as rain. Rain! Listen to it. And every drop a vote for George. Real, live, honest-to-goodness rain. Dripping wet rain. Nice, kind, friendly rain, Red.
Then he lied. Every word was a lie. He didn't put out a false forecast.
False forecast? He never made a better forecast in his life. Not a cloud in the sky last night, and this morning it's raining cats and dogs. That guy's terrific.
Yeah, he's terrific.
Well, what are you so glum about? Do you realize what this means? George will be elected, Mrs. Congressman Willoughby. And let's get him on the phone and tell him about this.
Is this the Weather Bureau? Mr. Kirk Duncan, please. He's home. Wake up! Get up out of that bed and take what's coming to you.
Oh, go away.
Not much, I won't. Come on, get up.
What, again? You can't come in here.
That's what you think. Come on, get up.
Wait a minute. What is this? Give me a chance to get some clothes on.
Get up, come on. Of all the low-down double-crossing tricks, you certainly pull the prize. Nice kind of a man to know. Some nerve.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Pretty slick, aren't you, trying to make me think you put out a false forecast for me?
I did do it for you.
Now, don't make it worse by lying. Don't try to tell me you didn't know it was going to rain today. Look out there, raining cats and dogs.
Rain. And I resign.
Oh, no, you didn't know it was going to rain.
I didn't. This rain's a fluke. That warm front has no business being here today.
Never mind about the warm front. Do you or do you not love me?
I did.
Oh, darling.
But I can't anymore. I haven't got a job. I resigned.
Are you trying to tell me you won't marry me?
Not until I can support you.
Kirk Duncan, you put me through enough grief. And now you're trying to tell me you won't marry.
Well, how can I marry you with it raining like this?
What's the rain got to do with
I
it?
resigned.
Hello, Dad?
Won't you please try to understand?
Keep still. Darling, do you want to get the bride away?
I couldn't even support a goldfish.
Well, grab a taxi and a minister and come over to 211 Perry Street, apartment A, and hurry.
Way! Hooray! 211 Perry Street, 211, apartment A. Caroline, it's happened. Our kids, they're getting married. Don't ask me now, just grab a hat. I'm coming right over to get you.
You can argue from now until doomsday, and it won't do you a bit of good.
Well, at least give me a chance to get some clothes on.
No, not until we're married. That must be Dad. Stay there. Don't you move. Oh, this is the happiest moment of my life. Hello, Dad.
What's she here for?
Here to marry me, that's what for.
What?
I'm doing nothing of the kind.
But where is...
You're going to marry that...
Got to marry him. Look at the condition he's in.
Condition?
Well, somebody's got to look after him. He's lost his job.
This is all her idea.
Oh, that I should live to see the day when a daughter of mine would be begging a web-footed rainmaker to marry her.
Now, don't pay any attention to him, Joe. The perfect forecast has gone to his head.
Where can I find that inventor of the psychological moment?
Did someone want to get married?
Mr. Quinn.
Mr. Quinn! Mr. Quinn, it works! It predicted rain for today.
You hit it this time, Kirk. Congratulations, old man.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your balloon. The observations showed rain for today. Everybody's crazy to know how you figured that warm front was going to reach here today.
Oh, that warm front's in again.
These observations were made 3 days ago. Sure, they point to rain. But who sent up the balloon?
I sent the balloon up, Mr. Duncan. When it came back, I hurried to the Weather Bureau.
Didn't someone want to get married? You're made, boy. Every weather bureau in the world's going to want your meteorographs.
Don't forget Australia.
I can't believe it. I certainly owe you a vote of thanks.
Oh, think nothing of it, Mr. Duncan. You know, I'm intensely interested in your balloon. I should like to invest my own modest savings, if I may. I've already made out a check for $500.
That gadget's worth $1 million.
It'd be worth $1 million to me to get my hands on George Willoughby.
George Willoughby.
Yes, George Willoughby.
Come back here, you. Oh, no, you don't. George.
I forgot him.
You're a very lucky girl, Paula.
It's tough, Caroline, but I'm still willing to do the right thing by the Willoughbys.
Sure. Was it Emerson who said, if you want a thing done well, do it yourself?
Did anyone here want to get married?
Will!